Hey guys, it's Rochelle, the Hardwood Diva, and I am coming to you today, Saturday, September 25th, to give you my NFL Week 3 picks. Sorry it took me so long to post them, but my Arizona State Sun Devils, yay, are going up against Oregon right now, and I've been trying to tear myself away from the game, but it's been kind of difficult. It's halftime right now, so I'm going to try and make this video as sweet and simple and short as possible so I can get back to the game. Alrighty, so for week 3, okay, look, last week, my picks, I didn't do so well. I think I was like 75%. I mean, I could have done better, but there were a couple upsets I wasn't expecting. But this week, we're going to see, I think I can do a little better. We'll see what happens. Alrighty, so first up, we've got Tennessee versus the New York Giants. Now, Tennessee hasn't, I mean, it's been kind of up and down with them this season. Vince Young was pulled from the game last week. I see them being, doing pretty well. Just depends on what kind of game Chris Johnson has. Just depends on how VY comes back from last week. But I personally think I've seen some decent things from the Giants. This one's kind of tough for me, but right now I'm going to go with the Giants. It's up in the air. Probably, it could honestly go either way, but tonight I'm picking the Giants. Next up, we've got Cincinnati versus Carolina. Carolina doesn't even know who their quarterback is going to be half the time, so definitely going with Cincinnati. That's the team I'm picking. Carolina hasn't proven to do much. Steve Smith is doing well. However, we don't even know who's going to be throwing to him, so I'm going with Cincinnati. Pittsburgh versus Tampa Bay. Now, earlier in this season, I had no idea, and I definitely would not have picked Pitt to be getting close to 4-0 without Roethlisberger. However, they do have Troy Polamalu, and that man can play defense, and he is the reason they are right now currently 2-0 and most likely 3-0 after playing Tampa Bay this weekend. Even though they're on like their 4th or 5th string quarterback, I really think this is their time, and they're going to get this one. So going with Pitt, we'll see how it plays out, and I want to see what they're going to do when Ben gets back because they've been playing pretty well. They honestly don't really need him. Offense could clearly do better, but I think Pitt will do pretty well without, they're still doing pretty well. We'll see what happens. Next up, Buffalo versus New England. New England. Then we've got Cleveland versus Baltimore. Cleveland, I don't know. Still no Jake Delhomme, so I'm personally going to just have to say we're going with Baltimore. Baltimore's defense has always been stifling, even with Josh Cribbs on Cleveland. Just don't see this as a fair matchup right now. Then we've got San Francisco versus Kansas City. Both of these teams are actually showing some promise. San Francisco really did well against New Orleans. They lost at the last minute. Of course, they're crying, whining, saying it was, we beat ourselves and they didn't beat us. But personally, when you're the champs, you get stuff like that happens for you. That's why you're the champs. But San Francisco did do well. If they do stop beating themselves up and stop beating themselves, I definitely see a future for them. And in this game, I think I will go with them, even though Kansas City played well. Then we've got Dallas versus Houston. Now, I have never been one to do too much like prognosticating and all that kind of stuff before the season, just because with football, it truly is, and I'm taking this from my dad, all about the matchups. It just depends on who you're playing. So I never go who's going to the Super Bowl this year because almost always it's not someone you thought it was going to be. I was not picking Dallas, even though I thought they were a good team, and I loved the pickup of Dez Bryant. Just see a little too much problematic with their offensive side of the ball. Defense has always been really good, but offensively they're not doing too well, and they are currently 0-2. Houston is kicking on all cylinders right now, and even though I don't want to see my Dallas Cowboys go 0-3, there's a very high likelihood that they can, though. I think tomorrow they need to pull it together and get this win. If they don't, this season might be a loss for them. But I still have total faith in my Cowboys, and I think Tony and the gang can get it together. So I'm saying right here, Dallas. All right. Then we've got Detroit and Minnesota. Even though Brett and the gang aren't doing so well, I still think they'll be able to get Detroit. Then we've got Atlanta versus New Orleans. Atlanta somewhat, proved themselves last week against the Cardinals. However, this is still New Orleans Saints, so I'm going with the Saints in this game. Even without Reggie Bush. Without Reggie Bush, they can win games in the season. It might be a little more difficult for the Super Bowl. However, they are projecting that he'll be back by midseason, so they won't even have to worry about missing him if they get to the Super Bowl, get to the playoffs. So I'm going with the Saints for this weekend. Washington versus St. Louis. St. Louis isn't horrible, but Washington is much better, especially now that they have Donovan. So I'm going to have to go with Washington Redskins. Then we've got Donovan's old team, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is going to be interesting because we've got Michael Vick back. He is officially back. The boy is ready to play, and I am ready to see him. I have missed him. So I'm going to give it to him. He's shown a lot of promise, not only with his feet, which is what he's always done, but he's a better pocket passer than he ever was. And I think this has been the best situation for him. So I'm going with him. Indy versus Denver, Indianapolis. Denver doesn't have no Sean Moreno right now. Their team, even though they're decent, they're just not going to be Indy personally. All right, next up we've got the Raiders versus the Arizona Cardinals. Someone keeps getting on me for picking against the Raiders. So they're going to get their wish. This week I'm picking the Raiders. And that's just because the Cardinals pretty much suck. We've got San Diego versus Seattle. San Diego. They got Marcus McNeil back. He's not going to be playing this week, but I think that's a good boost for them to know that he's back. But they're doing well. They haven't missed a beat, so I'm going with them. Jets in Miami. That's the evening game. Jets, they haven't, helped themselves, or Rex hasn't helped them by not making the people in Miami feel too great, but I think the Jets will get this one. And finally, we've got Green Bay versus Chicago. Chicago's playing well, but I think Green Bay definitely will get this one. Aaron Rodgers is it right now for them, and I think he'll do this for them. So those are my week 3 picks, guys. Thank you so much, and I will be hollering at you soon.